one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Bobby Baum, if you could lead us in prayer.
Good evening, Pastor Bobby Baum, Shelton Park Church of God up on Douglas Road. I want to say thank you to the board for inviting me back out to kick off this meeting with prayer tonight. If you would join me. Lord, we're thankful tonight to have another opportunity to be in this place to conduct the business of our community. We ask that you would be in everything that we say and do here tonight, and that above all that your will prevail in all things. Let us keep the mind and the heart of Christ in all that we do in this place tonight in honor and glory of you. And we ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for coming. Next, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add? Can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Support.
Ms. Hershberger, please take the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Consent agenda. Agenda committee recommends to approve and place on file minutes from the June 17th, 2025 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Please take the roll, Ms. Hershberger.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. No presentations this evening. Public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items only. Please state which agenda item you will be speaking on, and please state your name and address for the record.
Gail Kane, Temperance. My questions are regarding 8B. I see the combination for the two properties, and it seems to be that this is becoming a habit, which I know that this is some of why planning did the ordinances. The issue is that you can't see what is behind. So you see the road and you see the two parcels, but there's nothing. The print that was available in the public packet has wording. There's nothing that tells us what's on the back side of that. So please be careful with that. Those are the neighbors. As far as the sandblasting in the park picnic tables, it's a great, fantastic idea, but normally I've watched other groups, especially the park board, be grilled because they did not have 3 prices. And there was nothing here that even gave the names of the other ones that were bidding or what their prices were. So what's good for the goose needs to be good for the gander. That's just part of the policy. Just to say that we didn't get a whole lot of interest doesn't cut it. As far as closing the township hall, we all want a party. You guys get 14 regular days that are holidays, at least from what I could best tell. If you take another day off with each one of those, that's a full 28 days that this township hall is closed. And the township hall isn't here to serve as a place for holidays. Your employees, the elected ones, we know. We had a supervisor from day one they hollered COVID, shut the doors, that never came back and worked a full week or a full day again. But it's not a matter of what the employees want. It's what your purpose is and what this building is supposed to represent. And it can be slow all day. But if you get one person who wants to use the facilities to take care of business because they happen to have the day off, Nancy Tennevery would be having a fit right now because this is what your purpose is. The purpose isn't that this is just a job and you're here for yourself. So nothing was mentioned. It was all about, well, the employees are bored and they don't get a lot of business, so let's just close the doors. So I'm just asking you to kind of consider what your actual reason and purpose is here. And I know they're going to use their own holiday time, vacation day, or whatever it is they get to use, but it's the principle. That's all. Thanks.
Seeing no other comments, we'll be moving on. Ms. Hirschberger, 8A, vouchers for payments.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $59,272.65. Fire Fund, $38,049.15. Fire Equipment, $8,550.74. Downtown Development Authority, $790.62. Library Fund, $1,987.28. American Rescue, $10,687.17. Road Capital Improvement, $5,045.59. Capital Asset Revolving, $30,688. Downtown Development Authority Construction, $2,449.45. Building Department, $4,849.31. Sewer O&M, $3,039.55. Trust and Agency, $303,096.17, for a grand total of $468,505.68.
Support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll, Ms. Hirschberger.
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Next is 8B, request to combine two properties in a platted subdivision, parcel numbers 02-450-052-00 and 02-450-054-00. Craig, do you want to comment on that, or?
I mean, I can. So this didn't come through. Planning.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty. What's that?
Said it came through assessing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Looks pretty straightforward.
Doesn't look like you can do anything with that piece of property with only 40 foot of frontage.
I guess I was surprised how the parcels were split up.
Yeah.
Like that the parcels were split into like separate properties already, how they are as far as the subdivision goes, but
Marty can.
they got plenty
Address it, too.
of frontage, and I drove it. It doesn't look, I mean, that little strip, I assume that they just want to be able to put their pole barn in the back. And were you going to add something, Marty?
I guess just as general information for the board to consider, anytime we're doing a land combination, it's important to understand that it's going to be under one common ownership, and there are two tax parcels present right now. They're odd-shaped parcels. Somehow they're parts of subdivision lots. So they're asking for a combination. Presumably, the assessor is going to assign one combined parcel tax parcel number, I would guess. Mm-hmm. But whenever we're doing this, we always want to make sure that when we're doing land combinations, that both parcels that are being put together are commonly mortgaged and commonly owned by the same people. Where we have had historic problems, not necessarily with this property, is if one of the parcels that we're combining maybe has a mortgage on it because it has a home or residence, maybe there's a home construction loan on it, and the other one was purchased with cash because there's no improvements on it. So we're combining them. Half of what the combined parcel is now is mortgaged with a home mortgage, and there's no mortgage on the other half. So if the mortgage payments fail, all of a sudden the bank is foreclosing on half of the combined parcels, and now we've got a separation by law because of that mortgage lien is on only half of the combined parcel, and then perhaps we have a swimming pool or an accessory building or something that was built on the other parcel that was paid for with cash or didn't have a mortgage lien on it. So typically when we combine lots or units or maybe meets and bounds parcels behind a subdivision lot, we asked the owners to enter into a land combination restriction agreement, which says that they agree that both parcels are commonly mortgaged, if any are mortgaged at all. They will always be mortgaged together, so if there's a mortgage foreclosure, both parcels will pass through foreclosure together and not be separated in that regard. So I didn't see any mention of a land combination agreement, restriction agreement, that they'll never be separated without approval of the township board. But perhaps the assessing department is using our standard form. I don't know. But that's just some information for you to think about when you're doing land combinations.
Thank you, Marty. Any other questions, discussion?
Marty, so is it your recommendation in the motion that we include that the parcels cannot be separated without approval of the township?
That would be our typical process. I'm not sure, I can't speak for what the assessing department is doing with respect to these. Maybe they're covering that, and maybe that's just a standard procedure. But that would make sense to me, because if they're going to build an accessory building on the other half, we don't want them separated and therefore have an accessory building with no principal use on it. So that makes sense to me.
Doesn't the conjoining of the lots, like if we conjoin these, I don't understand how there would even be a separation at all. Like, I understand what you just said, but it doesn't make sense to me that, like, if they're conjoined, that now it's one unit.
But if the bank only has collateral over the original half, that's all they can foreclose on.
Even after this?
Yes, this does not give them collateral over the second half.
Okay.
Because that's not the description of the real estate.
I would have assumed that the owner is almost accepting that, like if with them conjoining, that hey, now they have collateral over, this is one property, that it would still, so it's. That's very interesting.
Yes, in order to satisfy that, they would have to go to their lender and say, we want to give you additional collateral to our original mortgage from 2015. And they may have to rewrite that mortgage then and or do some refinancing just to include all the property as collateral under their mortgage.
But we don't know if that's been our standard practice in the past.
Well, it has been when I've been involved. I don't know what the assessing department's been doing of late. I'm sure they're cognitive of that issue.
And that just be a policy that we can implement moving forward, that the assessing department moves forward with that process?
It probably is the policy.
Maybe, yeah, okay. It may already be. We just don't know.
Something maybe that we can check on, see how they're handling these issues.
I mean, I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
But in the motion tonight, we want to say combination restriction agreement.
That's what I would recommend. Without talking to the assessing department, and maybe they have a plan, otherwise I don't know.
Okay. Any other discussion, thoughts, comments? Okay. Seeing none, can we get a motion?
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the request to combine two parcels, parcel number 02450-052-00 and 02450-054-00, both plotted in the Midway Gardens subdivision. The parcels cannot be separated without township approval, and there has to be a combination, land combination restriction agreement.
Support.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll, Ms. Hirschberg.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Motion carries. 8C, approve 123.net, LLC, Metro Act bilateral permit. Marty, would you please take this?
Yeah, this is a typical Metro Act application by a telecommunications provider to utilize the road right-of-ways, the right-of-ways, public right-of-ways in the township for placement of their presumably fiber optic cables, either above ground or underground. And more than 20 years ago, the Metro Act was adopted by the state of Michigan, which created a uniformity of application and permit process for telecommunications to install and use the public right-of-ways to provide the residents of Bedford Township with these types of services so they can have fast internet and businesses and things like that. So the state, before 2002, when the Metro Act was enacted, the township here, I participated in a cable television committee, and we negotiated with proposed telecommunication providers from Boston and out east, and it was a mishmash. Every community had a different franchise agreement for providing telecommunications, and just for parts of the township. And they didn't want to provide service in the rural areas. They just wanted the high density service, and we had to negotiate the franchise fees and the rates to the customers. So the state of Michigan came in and did uniformly enact the Metro Act. Now that there is a standard form, state of Michigan sponsored application form, which this company has submitted, and a standard permit. And they have used the standard permit that they submitted to the township, and it is verbatim exactly what the state of Michigan provides for this instance.
I got a few questions. Is there a limit on how many companies are allowed to come in and use the road right-of-way for communication cables? I mean, at some point, right, there's not going to be enough room. 50 companies come in, 100 companies. So, like, is there a limit on how many a township is able to accept? If they come in and they actually apply with the correct paperwork in the Metro Act, and are they able to be denied, or is it just free-for-all, as many can come in as they want? Do you know anything regarding that?
I'm not aware of any limit other than supply and demand, and competition would keep them out.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we've had Buckeye Cable for how long? They were here first, and they've been there, the only competition. Now we're starting to get more. Is this the second one this year? Didn't we have one earlier?
No, we had
Fiber optics?
Omni.
Frontier.
Frontier, Omni. We've had many before Buckeye, too.
Wasn't it just Buckeye, though, for, like, everyone's complaining we only had Buckeye?
Oh, yeah, for a
Well,
long
yeah,
time.
we've had Buckeye for a
So now
long
we're
time,
starting to
but
get
we
more
had
competition.
companies.
I guess my only question was, at what point is we have too many of them in there, and maybe we're just saying yes to everybody, even if it's a bad reputation of a company that doesn't do very well, but we're just saying yes to everybody, and we're bringing in products or services that aren't great. And so I guess the long story short of my question is, there may be no limit for how many can come in and use the road right away for communication cables.
I'm not aware of a specific number limit, no.
Okay. There's more out of curiosity.
And I'll tell you, I don't know if these are going above ground or below ground, but Omni is going above, so they're going to follow the lines
Okay.
on the telephone poles. They already had permission from the owners.
Yeah, I was just
Some go
always,
underground, some go above ground,
Yeah.
so.
They'll also have to deal with the road commission for permits and crossings and stuff. It's easier for them to go above ground, but they also have to lease poles from other utility companies and stuff. So it's some places they might be underground, some places they might be above ground. They have to submit a plan to the township for their physical improvements that they're proposing.
but can't force them to go up above ground or below ground.
I'm
That's
not
totally up-
aware that the state of Michigan does that.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
I have a motion.
Okay. Judy, would you like to make that motion?
Make a motion to approve the access to the public right-of-way permit and application submitted by 123.net LLC and authorize the issuance of the bilateral permit as provided by the Michigan Public Service Commission and as requested by 123.net LLC as presented.
Support.
Second.
I think Craig.
Craig. Please take the roll, Ms. Hirschberger.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Next is 8D, approved sandblasting of park picnic tables. Josh, would you like to get up, please? Kind of start us off, Josh was at the meeting and so on. The picnic tables, that's kind of a specialty thing in terms of sandblasting. We did reach out. We had some companies that were not interested who do much bigger projects. So if you can find me somebody who's sandblast picnic tables, it's not something you find every day. So and that was discussed, I believe, Josh, that Pat Thatcher reached out to several companies.
Yep.
And the price we got, I think, too, Josh, when you guys were looking at picnic tables, were like $1,100 to $1,400 to buy brand new tables. So by doing this, and putting a coat on it, and refraining from painting them in the future, we're going to save a lot of money. So if this was a situation that we could call 5, 6 companies and get quotes, that'd be great. But we haven't found that supplier. So B&B, they are in Whiteford. They've been in business for a long time. They do all kinds of stuff. They do antiques. They do things like this. They do a lot of specialty things. Josh, you want to further comment? Or?
Yeah, I was looking at the packet, and just from looking at the dollar amounts for the amount the new tables would be, from like $1,100 to $1,400, we're saving anywhere from like $9,900 to $13,200 just by doing what we're doing. So that's good money saved for our maintenance fund.
So, any other questions? Or if I can get a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve sandblasting of park picnic tables, utilizing B&B restoration, and project will be drawn from the Parks Maintenance Fund, account number 101-265-933-0010.
Support.
Have a second? Sure.
The amount of $2,200.
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
That's good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is 8E, approved carpet cleaning for library. Harry? Is that Mr. Lambers back there?
Yep.
Would you like to come up, Harry? We always like to see you.
Okay, we're asking approval to have the carpeting in the library cleaned. We'll go with the contractor that's doing the cleaning of the carpeting right now, and they work with another company that does the shampooing and the cleaning. They're a low bidder of the 3 that we got, and since we've worked with them in the past, we'd like to continue to work with them. And the carpeting was installed in '21 and has been cleaned since.
Wow.
Right. It's held up pretty good, but it's a lot of carpet in there too, so I think it's a pretty reasonable price.
So now when I see the $77,775 annually, are we looking just for a 1-year contract? Or are we looking?
I would just say we go on a year-to-year basis,
Year to year?
not a formal contract.
Okay.
Because here's what we're finding out with some of these contractors: they may not be there the next year, or they decide we don't want jobs that big. That's like the hard part, finding something like this, because it's a lot of carpet. Wouldn't you agree, Harry? There's some that just, they like the smaller jobs or whatever, but when they come and look at that one, we had a few like, no, can't handle that. I want to
They
do
like
it.
the real small ones or the great big ones.
And they got to come in at night, too. They can't come in and do it during the day because we're open like 7 days a week, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would just be this time. Any other questions? Can we get a motion, please?
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the carpet cleaning presented by the Library Advisory Board, utilizing Aero Companies out of Warren, Michigan, for annually for $7,775 on a year-to-year basis.
Support.
Any further discussion? Seeing no one, Ms. Hirschberger, please take the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. Okay, next is 8F, request to close Township Hall on July 3rd, 2025. We don't have 4th of July fall on every Friday, and every holiday doesn't fall on every Friday. So the employees are not taking constant extra days. But I have to say this in terms of, yes, we're open to the public, but when it comes to holidays that fall like this, we wait 9 months a year for summer and so on. And there's a lot of people, and 4th of July is an important holiday. There's a lot of family gatherings. People like to get together. So this year it does fall on a Friday. And in terms of, I think, the employees, our absenteeism also is extremely low. If you asked any of these people, hey, can you come in extra or whatever, they do it. I've been here for 8 years. And so I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Any discussion?
So this is probably the second or third time this has come up. And don't necessarily have an issue with it. But moving forward, is this something that we can look at for the future and then make one recommendation at the beginning of the year that we know this holiday or that holiday or something like that?
No, I think it's a great idea. What we can do, the three of us, we can sit down and look at all the holidays. We can see when they fall and say, hey, this could happen. Maybe it won't
I'm assuming next year it'll probably come up again because 4th of July will probably be on a Saturday and the 3rd will be a Friday, and so
They get, if it's like that,
then we
they
get
already
get it.
Yeah.
They already get it.
But I think we should take a look at all the holidays and just say, hey, is this appropriate? They're using their own time. The other thing, too, is when you take a look at this building, to cool this thing, it's a lot of money. And I mean, there's a lot of townships and so on that they take a look at summer hours where sometimes they start earlier in the day and then they'll shut down earlier in the day. You know what I mean? To keep
I
the
agree,
cooling
but
costs.
we do have to be careful because there are, and I hear what Ms. Keene's saying, is that there are people that will come in on a Thursday because they might have the day off or something like that, and maybe they work 7 to 4 throughout the week, and they really can't get in to conduct township business. So we're definitely.
I couldn't find it, but I feel like we did one that was similar to this, and that's I think what I would have preferred is a open till noon or something like that for this type of one, where it's open. You're open for at least a little while if there was anybody trying to conduct business. Which it's obviously going to be a light day, but that it's already going to be closed one day of the week because of it falling on a weekday. And I couldn't remember, but I was almost positive we did one within the last year and a half that was like that we did a noon, and it wasn't a whole day. I felt like it was one like this.
I mean, we could do that as well.
That's what I would prefer in these types of situations, just for the purpose of being open a little bit, that it is available, but it also it does allow if the place is a ghost town, allows people to cut out on that long weekend a little early and that type of thing.
We could do.
I mean, I'm not
we could do it until noon.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
put it this way: the employees are grateful.
And I always
whatever this board
appreciate
does,
it. I always
you know.
appreciate when
So
for
if you guys want to
forever.
go to noon, we could go to noon, and I don't think anybody'd have a problem with that.
And then they're only burning 4 hours
Exactly.
instead of a full day. But I also like, you know, it's a morale booster because our employees are fantastic. There's no question about that, especially after the previous 4 years. It was kind of rough, to say the least.
Right.
But we will, so I'm open to whatever. I'm fine with this. I'm fine till noon. So whoever makes the motion, I'm
Same.
good with.
Doesn't bother me either way.
Okay. Mr. Stump, you have a question?
No, not a question. I'm fine with the third being off all the way. And I understand what Craig's saying moving forward, but it's 4th of July, it falls on a Friday. I would like to give the employees the entire day. But moving forward, I think Gail's right. If the 4th of July fell on a Wednesday, are we going to take Tuesday off? No. Are we going to shut down? Or no. But it does fall on a Friday. It doesn't happen very often. I am obviously in favor of the 4th of July. It's a big day. So I'll make a motion that we close down July 3rd, Thursday, Township Hall.
Okay. Do we have
Support.
support? Ms. Hirschberger, take the roll.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. I thank the board, the employees, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Next, we have comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes for each individual. Please state your name and address.
Hi, Linda Johnson, 7031 Lewis Avenue, Temperance. I'm here speaking today on behalf of the Bedford Farmers Market. I am, yet again this year, the market manager. What I wanted to speak about today was the Veterans Vouchers program that we started last year. We ended up raising enough funds to provide vouchers, $20 worth of vouchers, to 150 veterans. So the program was a huge success. What we found out during the time and then afterwards is when we received a report from the Bedford Township Veterans Center, not only were they doing the administration while we were doing the fundraising and providing the produce and the baked goods, that they also were able to notify veterans who came just for the vouchers about other services that they provided, other veteran benefits, some going back to World War II veterans, that the veterans were not aware that they could receive, and they also set them up with veteran administration to receive health care, transportation, and some other things. So it was a good program all the way around. We're doing it again this year, and we hope to start on August 1st, so I have a month to raise the money for this. The reason that I'm here today is that I brought the flyers, which has all the contact information at the bottom, and if you have community contacts who might want to participate in this, in working with the Bedford Township Veterans Center, we are asking people to donate to them, and then the funds are turned over to us to reimburse the vendors and to make the vouchers. But because they are a 501c3, it means that all tax donations are deductible. If you want the information, I have it with me, and it'll be on the website.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. It's a great program. We raised, I don't know, how much did we raise last year, like in a couple weeks or something, Linda? Yeah, we raised like $3,000 in 2 weeks, so.
You done? Okay. Lamar Frederick, Lambertville. 2 issues. Number one, you wouldn't have this mess on July 3rd if you just looked at the calendar on January 1st when you set your board meetings for the year. If you see something coming up like that early in the year, take care of it then. I'm really concerned, and I think, Marty, somebody in the firm needs to look carefully at this sandblasting. Silicosis is just as nasty as asbestosis. And so I don't know how they're going to sandblast these tables. But if you look along the roads when they're sandblasting the bridges, they got a lot of stuff covered up. So just make sure that there's a hold harmless and a whole host of other issues that are covered. if they're going to be sandblasting on township property. That's nasty stuff. Thank you.
Hello, Karen Flynn, Temperance. On the June 3rd board meeting, Mr. Bruning said regarding the people who would be protesting at Bedford Township Hall, send them down to my shop. His shop is Todd's Guns. I'll turn it into a freaking party. I'll have 4 different militia there. It will be we can party again. I think you can find that first party commemorated on Mr. Bruning's Facebook page, showing himself and one of his guys armed on the roof of his shop greeting a passing protest. Unfortunately, again, on June 17th, in response to our concerns, Mr. Bruning actually doubled down on his threats towards those expressing First Amendment rights to protest. His self-serving flattery for the protest was predicated on the fact that, in his words, Al didn't have to send the SWAT team, call the SWAT team, and I didn't have to call my guys. It can only be concluded, given his previous statements on June 3rd, that his guys are part of the 4 different militia groups he said he associates with. On the 17th, when an attendee countered militias are illegal, Bruning said, well, maybe, maybe not. Once again, on June 17th, there was no counter or check from this board on Mr. Bruning's position. As a Bedford resident and a possible future attendee at protests in Bedford, I would like to know particularly from each board member whether they endorse calling in militia or Mr. Bruning's guys. I particularly request a legal opinion from the board attorneys stating whether Mr. Bruning has the legal authority to summon militia or his guys to exercise authority over protesters in Bedford. Also from the township attorneys, has Mr. Bruning's board comments left the taxpayers of Bedford open to liability in the event of a lawsuit brought that claimed threatening to use unlawful groups against citizens exercising their rights at the Bedford Township Center?
I love these nut jobs.
Jacqueline Arvanitis, Temperance. At the last meeting, when our group raised concerns about Mr. Bruning's threatening comments, he nodded in agreement when quoted as saying he would bring in 4 militias to our community. Instead of walking it back, he followed with condescending remarks, implying we needed his endorsement to protest peacefully in our own community. Then he doubled down, saying, quote, Al didn't have to call the SWAT team. I didn't have to call my guys. When I asked if he meant an illegal militia, he replied, maybe, maybe not. Let me be clear, Mr. Bruning has no legal authority that I'm aware of to summon an armed militia. Yet he continues to repeat these threats. He made those comments without hesitation, even with a member of law enforcement present. That's not confidence. It's a reflection of a disturbing reality that repeated threats of political violence are being met with silence from this board. And that silence is what gives him permission to double down. These comments are not just reckless, they are threatening. And it's not hypothetical. During a previous protest, Mr. Bruning did bring armed men in our community. These aren't words, he has acted on them. Only Mr. Stump responded to our call for accountability, and while I did appreciate that, even he only said he thinks the board denounces political violence. The rest of you said nothing. Let me also be clear. We contacted the sheriff ahead of our protest to ensure it was peaceful and lawful. Yet Mr. Pryor claimed he called the sheriff for our, quote, protection. Protection from what? People like Mr. Bruning? This is a pattern, and still no one here has spoken out. We are your neighbors, and you owe the community a clear answer. So I ask you once, do you denounce Mr. Bruning's threats of violence and intimidation, or do you endorse them through your silence? Also, Mr. Bruning, I would just like to say, as somebody who lives in this community, I try to be up here and be brave. Your comments scare me, and I feel less safe in our community because of them. I please appeal to your humanity.
Cynthia Vincent, 400 West Temperance Road, and I'm not a nut job. I've been proud to call Bedford Township home for over 30 years. I've raised my family here, and I've also been part of the local business community. I fully respect the right to free speech. However, recent comments made by Mr. Bruning referencing his militia his militia guys, were clearly intended to intimidate participants in the peaceful No Kings protest. Mr. Bruning's public courting of controversy, both in the past and the present, along with participation from current members in this board on these activities during and following official meetings, does not send a message of welcome to our community. Bedford is a great place to live and do business, and that behavior does not reflect our values. We have a strong professional law enforcement team here in Bedford. We don't need your militia.
Hello, Pamela Hess, Temperance. I am also not a nut job. I'd like to address this board directly and ask if there is anyone on the board who feels the need to stand up to Mr. Bruning. Last Friday, without knowledge or of evidence, without any expertise, and without any authority, he declared the guilt of a local girl and her family of fraud and sexual consent as a minor. He did so crudely and with cruelty on social media regarding a pending lawsuit in Monroe County. I'd like to read that comment for the board now. Todd Bruning on Facebook, on a Facebook page called Bedford Unleashed, posted, quote, "This is BS. As usual, she is just looking for a payout. She was their babysitter and she banged him multiple times, both in Michigan and Ohio. It was all consensual. I'm not trying to say what happened isn't wrong, but it was consensual between the both of them, and this family is just looking for a payout now that it got exposed to everyone," end quote. One can read about the pending lawsuit at WTOL.com and find that the girl bringing said lawsuit was 17 at the time the misconduct began. Mr. Bruning, I'd like to remind you that the age of consent in Michigan is 16 unless one is an authority figure. Then the age of consent is 18. Please refer to Michigan Penal Code Section 750, subsection 520E. With your Facebook statements, you are defending a man who has been convicted of criminal sexual conduct and is currently incarcerated after grooming and abusing an underage student from his special needs classroom. One can imagine the relief and gratitude our school board has recently felt because Mr. Bruning, when forced by a court, decided to give up his school board seat in favor of retaining his trustee seat. They have been spared the further worry about Bedford School's potential liability in the face of such posts by Mr. Bruning. I wonder, does this board need to worry about the same liability?
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you.
Gail King, Temperance, and I am a nutcase. It's nice to see these people here, but at the same time, we have to remember that we all have our own opinions. And if you're going to spend your time on Bedford Unleashed, I have concerns about you. We know that that's just a bad thing. And for those of you that are too young to know of incidents from the Bedford Public School District way back in the day, it has always had problems with the teachers and the students, and they were not all special needs. So the problem is that this is a community. We all have an opinion. We all have a reason to try to protect our property however we see fit. I myself am very fearful of some of these radical groups. I don't party to the Democrats. I don't party to the Republicans. I vote for people. And so for that reason, this is why I take my concerns and I come here. You know, I suppose we could have a recall or do whatever else we need to do, but I'm not willing to run for an office and sit up here and listen to people like myself tell you how to do your business every 2 weeks or to go to planning or to be a part of the parks. I appreciate what you do. I respect you for being open. And it's the 4th of July, and we have many of our members here who fought for these freedoms, and that's what we have to respect, is each other. And if we can't do that, there's a problem. Mr. Pryor, thank you for the information regarding the sandblasting. Do we still have wood picnic tables for the parks?
Those are going away.
Okay, I was going to say those. So thank you very much, and happy 4th of July, and happy birthday, JJ.
Any further comments from the public?
John Arbonitis, Temperance. I've seen you guys kind of nod along with various points and questions that are asked throughout. I probably won't use the full 2 minutes, so I don't know if I can ask questions in real time and receive real-time answers, but if you do agree or if you're willing to answer, I'd appreciate it. Todd, do you believe in the First Amendment?
I don't think we're allowed to answer.
There's public comment.
Yeah, I know. I've just been watching some head nodding throughout. So, I mean, if it's his official public opinion that a 17-year-old can enter a consensual sexual relationship with a 37-year-old teacher, you know, that's obviously highly problematic. I think we can all agree with that. I think we can all also agree that the political temperature is a little too high on a day-by-day basis, and we'd probably like to tune that down. I guess I would just ask you guys if you think Todd raises that temperature or if he lowers it. I think that is pretty axiomatic, but I'm going to pose it anyway, and I'm going to let that stand in the air for a bit, soak in, and I hope we can get some answers to some of these questions and comments that have been relayed out here. And I also want to add that I just don't think anything was very funny that was stated here today, Todd. I see you smirking and giggling and laughing. I don't find any of these things to be amusing. Adding moments of confrontation in your community, which you are certainly doing, is problematic. And it's not funny, it's not amusing. I hope that's clear. Thank you all for your time.
Do we have any further comments?
Amy Olenuski, Lambertville. I just would like to speak about my involvement or knowledge regarding comments about the militia. It's very frightening in today's world to hear anybody make a threatening gesture such as you did. That was shared from a complete stranger to me from TikTok. But we are in this community, and I want to know, is the board going to hold him accountable for this? What are repercussions for this? This is not okay, period. No one is safe with that kind of an attitude, especially somebody that has some power. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public? Seeing none, we will close the public comment period. Mr. Stump?
I'll just get this out of the way. My son was born on the 4th of July, so I'm really excited to blow some stuff up on Friday to celebrate his first birthday. Happy Independence Day. I don't think I really clarified my question earlier when it comes to the public utilities right away. When I asked if there was a maximum that we have, my assumption, well, the line of thinking was if we're only allowed to have 10 companies come in, then we should be picky choosy, kind of seeing what companies are coming in. But if there's no max, right, then it's whatever. I guess that was kind of the point I was trying to get across. Okay, got that out of the way. Regarding the residents coming up, I think I said it. We are all in support of the First Amendment. Peaceful protest, saying what you want, however you want. Second Amendment also, right? I think you're able to carry a gun to a protest peacefully. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm not really sure what you can and cannot do, but I'm assuming that you are able to carry a gun at a protest and protest peacefully. Yeah, political rhetoric needs to be dialed down. Going to the student-teacher situation, it's obviously that's a terrible situation. At no point is that okay with that power dynamic and that age difference. It's not great. It's actually terrible. And that guy should be sitting in prison for the rest of his life. Very simple at that. Todd is going to say what Todd wants. That's his First Amendment right. He's going to look to, I think Todd will admit this, sometimes say things to get under people's skin and look for reactions. I've seen it myself. He's done it to me, and I know that's Todd, and he's smiling right now. I will point that there was one somewhat comical moment when Gail said she is a nut job. That is actually objectively funny. So I will say, denouncing student-teacher relationships, period. No black and white there. Political rhetoric needs to be dialed down. People should have the right to protest in Bedford Township peacefully, without the fear of retaliation. Don't know how else to say that. Believe that with all my heart. As far as Todd saying all the things that Todd wants to say, he's going to continue to say that, whether I tell him not to.
Please,
so
these are board comments, please.
So Todd is going to say what Todd is going to say. I can tell him not to. I can tell him to do whatever. He's a grown man. He's 55 years old. When we come to threats, obviously I don't think anyone needs to threaten anyone. I think that if someone feels threatened, they can take that up in the court of law, which is their right. But as far as Todd doing what Todd does, people have an option to go and vote in a primary for this position in 2028 or start a recall. That is completely up to them. But yes, I stand firmly with First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, and many of you, not many, two people up here, fought for those rights, and I hope that they still believe that and that they upheld that oath that they took. So that's about as good as I can come up with the comments that was made tonight by the audience. First Amendment, Second Amendment, no consensual relationships between student teachers, and Todd, like I said, I can tell you, I have told you privately, some things I don't agree with, and you're going to continue to say what you want to say, and that is your right. Not make threats. Obviously, if someone feels uncomfortable taking it up in the court of law, that's your right as well. So that's about all I got.
We just want to remind the public that this is Township Board member comment time. This is not time for exchange with the public. Public had their moments to give comments. And if the comments continue from the public, that's disturbing the meeting. And the chairman may decide that it's disruption of the meeting and ask for those people to be removed.
Mr. Bruni.
Everyone have a good night, good weekend. I had a good time in Florida last week.
Mr. Gore.
Todd, what does your shirt say?
I got this shirt down in Florida. It says, greetings from the Gulf of America.
Just throw that out there.
Yep.
Gail, thank you for lightening the mood and admitting. Yeah. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you keep us on our toes. As far as the First Amendment goes, it goes both ways. And myself, Mr. Bruning, both served in the United States Marine Corps. Myself, I'm a combat veteran for the First Gulf War. I've got a lot at stake in the First Amendment and the Constitution. January 29th, 1991. It was a terrible night. I was on an LAV, light armor vehicle. We got into a battle with some tanks, Iraqi tanks. 2 of our vehicles were destroyed. We lost 12 Marines that night. All right, 6 of them I had breakfast with that morning. Okay, and then they were all killed. Moving past that, I was with India Company 3rd Battalion 1st Marines after the Rodney King verdicts and there was riots in L.A. We were deployed up there. I was up in L.A. for 5 days guarding the only grocery store that had not been burned and looted. So what they're telling you that they're peaceful protests, they're not peaceful. Okay? They're not. They're not peaceful in LA. They weren't peaceful when I was there, okay, back in the 90s. Right? The one we had out here was peaceful. Okay? I wish you guys could write a book or give tutorials on other people's how they should protest and handle the protest. Okay? Mr. Stump's correct. I've known Todd a long time. Todd's Todd. He's going to say what he's going to say. He has the First Amendment right, just as you folks do. As far as Bedford being safe, I feel completely safe in here. I feel safe with my family here. I feel safe in Bedford. I don't feel threatened one bit. If folks are out there feeling threatened, there's things that you can do, steps you can take. You can take CPL classes, get your concealed pistol license, support the Second Amendment. There's a lot of different things you can do. Josh, happy birthday to your son. He is going to have the best birthday and the biggest party every year, the fireworks that are going off. And especially as his first birthday. That's awesome. For those of you that are celebrating the 4th of July, it's a great holiday. I myself partake in some of the fireworks. Please be safe when you're utilizing fireworks. In my career, I've responded to several injuries, and I know the chief, I don't know if you've had any medical runs on already people blowing their hands up with fireworks yet this year. I'm sure it's coming, or, let's hope it's not. And as far as our teacher and the student, absolutely, Josh, you're right. They should, somebody like that, pick up the jail, put him under, bury him, okay? My career in 32 years in law enforcement, I've arrested a lot of people like that, whether it was students, and some of the stuff you hear is absolutely disgusting, and there's no place in society for people like that. Absolutely not. So that's my take on that. But again, please be safe out there this 4th of July. If you're traveling, travel safe. If you're boating, please be safe on the water. If you're swimming with children, please make sure they're utilizing flotation devices or they're not swimming alone. Please, 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 I can't stress that enough. And let's just everybody have a safe and wonderful 4th of July.
Mr. Monetary.
Well, I'll be working on July 3rd. You guys all you fat cats, and take it easy. Is Walgreens mowed yet?
They have until
the
July
3rd, right?
They've been sent their letters. Damon has gone in there. So once July 3rd hits, Damon's got somebody lined up that's going to get cut, and it's going to cost them a lot more money than probably what they were going to pay.
Is it your opinion that we should, or anybody else on this board's opinion, is that something we should re-look at as far as maybe not changing the ordinance, but complaint-based or not with the grass mowing? Is that like, whether it's across the board or businesses or intersection properties, or it just seems like I had a handful of people reach out to me about it, and one of which being one of my brothers, and I was explaining it to him, and it's just kind of as I'm saying it, it's kind of a convoluted thing. And how does it take that to clean up the second busiest intersection in the county? Top 5? What I don't. Yeah,
top
but
5
yeah. But that we have a situation like that, and it's it can be such a drawn out thing. Is there? I don't know. I was just curious if is that something we should relook at, or I'm not big on. I prefer, as a general rule, I prefer the complaint based, but I don't know. There's just something that, like I said, I was in conversation with my brother, explaining to him how it all worked, and it's kind of like, that is kind of dumb. Maybe there is a better way for those types of situations.
Sometimes what happens, I agree with you, because we get these calls and people are like, well, why don't you do anything? Well, we have this ordinance, but sometimes it is so obvious, like if there was one house, okay, it's overgrown, I knock on the door, then I find out the neighbor said, oh, they passed away. Well, you know,
Yeah.
those are things that sometimes you find out, or sometimes people need help. There's a senior in there, and they're not cutting the grass, but maybe they always did it. But I think in certain circumstances, like Walgreens, we should have just been able to stop and say, you know what, in certain cases, I think we need to forego the 10 days. The problem that you have,
10 days is a long time.
grass
for
is
grass
growing
to
for
be-
another
yes,
10 days.
Grass,
So
that's a
now,
long
you
time
know,
for grass to
I'm
be
not-
growing.
You know, I'm not an advocate like, hey, let's go to every subdivision and look at,
Me neither.
you know, grass. But when it's pretty obvious that the grass is 6 to 8 inches, and then we have to wait.
I know there were
I
some
think we
times
should look at
earlier
it.
in this summer, Lewis and Dean, I think every corner at Lewis and Dean
Right.
was waist high. I don't,
And sometimes the owners will be like, oh, okay, or they hired a crew. And I think the problem at Walgreens is somebody probably got the Walgreens contract and didn't realize how far Bedford might be down. They could be up in Detroit and just kind of like keep pushing it.
You guys are talking so much about
So.
grass, but you have failed to honor this.
Ma'am, no, public,
I'm gonna leave, no problem, but you need to take care of Todd
no,
in the comments. It's not
Ma'am.
okay for our community at all. Have a nice evening.
I'm with her, actually. This is absolute nonsense. This man gets to threaten us. You talk about the violence he's on.
we're gonna adjourn the meeting. Thank you.